Louisiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Director. Good to see you.
Same.
Thanks for coming. I always enjoy your testimony. When I look for a common thread running throughout your testimony, and I look at your agency's behavior, one of the common threads I see is that, and I'm not going to ask you to comment on this, is that in your judgment, some companies in America are making too much money. Now, when you analyze their financial statements, do you not?
Sure.
Do you distinguish between revenue and earnings when you analyze a financial statement?
Well, sure. We look at all things, and I would say that we
What's
don't
the
think of
difference
too much
between
money.
revenue and earnings?
Well, these are all used colloquially. Sometimes those are similar. In GAAP accounting, which is what most U.S. companies use.
Don't tell me about GAAP. Just tell me your understanding of the difference between revenue and earnings.
Well, I can share with you revenue and net income. So those are the two factors that when you say are on financial statements.
Earnings is another word for net income.
Well, earnings can be used for many different things, but in generally accepted accounting principles, net income is what all of our banks are really using.
Okay. Well, revenue is before expenses, and earnings, net income, is after expenses. Is that
No, I think like when people go to work, they say, my earnings were this. I mean, that's their salary. So I think we tend to look at accounting definitions.
They may say that, but when you analyze a financial statement, you look at expenses, don't you? You don't just equate revenue with earnings, do you?
Oh, totally. And I think your suggestion that we think companies are too profitable, we think about competition.
I understand.
What are the options people have
here's
in order to...
Here's what is confusing me. We all know, unless you were playing Frisbee on the quad during Econ 101 or Accounting 101, there's a difference between revenue and earnings. I want to ask about the way you're funded. I looked at Congress's statute. I'm looking for it here. It says, here's how you're funded. And you just won your lawsuit in the Supreme Court. Each year, beginning on the designated transfer date, in each quarter thereafter, the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve, where you get your money, shall transfer to your agency from the combined earnings of the Federal Reserve System the amount determined by the director to be reasonably necessary to carry out the authorities of the Bureau. It says the combined earnings, not the revenue. Now, for the longest time, the Federal Reserve was earning money, but that stopped in September of 2022? Now, they are losing money. They don't have any earnings. They're no longer transferring earnings to the general fund. And the Supreme Court based its decision on saying that this funding scheme is constitutional under the Appropriations Clause by saying that these earnings would go to the general fund from the Federal Reserve, so getting them directly from the general fund is no big deal. How are you entitled to any money right now? The Federal Reserve doesn't have any earnings.
Well, we've heard of this theory. I think it's one of the latest ones.
It's not a theory. It's a congressional
Well,
statute.
I think there's you raised the difference between revenue and net income. There are other places throughout our laws. I can tell you we've looked at this issue. We do believe wholeheartedly everyone is complying with the statute.
I know you believe that, but if you look at
I'm aware with what you said, revenue and net income.
If I could just finish my question.
Sure.
If you read the opinion, and I did, and you read the statute, it says here, bigger than Dallas, you can only get your money from the Federal Reserve out of earnings. Now, the Federal Reserve has not had any earnings since September of 2022. Isn't that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Sure, it's
from
correct.
a net income
All
perspective,
you have to do is
you're
go-
right,
is go-
but they've
go-
generated lots
go
of
ask
fees
OMB.
and income. And I appreciate what you're saying. I'm happy to discuss this with you, but I think we've looked at this.
My point is every penny you've gotten under this congressional
I don't think
statute,
Congress wanted
every
the
penny
CFPB to be
that
suddenly
you've gotten, if I could
defunded.
finish my thought.
Sure.
I know you don't like to hear this, but the law is the law. You've been operating illegally.
No, that's not true, sir.
Yes, you have. There have been no earnings. Doesn't this put in jeopardy every one of your rules?
We've heard this
and
theory
every
before,
one
and I'm
of
happy to
and
discuss it.
well, you're going to hear it again because it's the law. We didn't say revenue in the statute. We said earnings. How can you possibly argue that the Federal Reserve has had earnings? They're losing money.
I'm happy to discuss this with you, but we have looked at this theory before.
I know you have, but
Yeah.
I'm over. I'm sorry. Tell me why you're mad at Chase Bank.
You're not that sorry, Senator Kennedy, but go ahead.
You're mad at PayPal and Chase Bank. Can you tell me real quickly before Sharon cuts me off why you're mad
I
now
think
at PayPal and Chase
the
Bank?
concern is that we have seen an incident at PayPal where there was an attempt to censor people based on their speech. We've also seen that those companies are now going to be offering reportedly advertising based on your individual transaction data. I feel some of this is something we all need to figure out
Are
together.
you going to punish every company that has censored people's speech?
No, I do think...
I applaud that part.
Oh, I think
But do
censorship
you have
is
to
a big
approve?
problem.
Senator Kennedy,
Do you have to
time's
approve the
expired.
speech
Senator-
first?
No, I think
Time's
we should.
expired.
I think we're on the same page.
I'm over. I'm sorry. Thanks for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
You're not sorry, and I wasn't indulging you, but thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Warren,
Well,
recognized.
I'm sorry as I could be. I will send you later
Senator
a
Warner, Virginia.
fruit basket to make up for it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.